My name's Eric. I'm 62 years of age. I have mesothelioma, which has now cut my life short by 20 years. I was always very fit and healthy. I was nearly 100 kilos. I really don't know how long I'll still be okay for, or whether I'll go downhill very quick.
Eric's case was quite interesting because his exposure occurred in the 1990s and had no idea about the dangers of the product and was certainly not told or warned at a time where employers should have been enforcing the use of protective equipment.
We were only given very little information about asbestos, and I weren't given much information on PPE. All we ever got told is just try and keep the hose going, try and keep it a little bit wet.
The knowledge of the extreme dangers of asbestos were very well known, yet Eric in the 1990s removing a product from a building in Brisbane was never told about it. It's really important that people in Eric's situation speak out about how they got exposed to asbestos. It means hopefully the next generation of worker is not similarly exposed and gets sick like him.
An employer owes an employee a duty of care to keep them free from a foreseeable risk of harm. And in Eric's case, the employer hasn't done that.
I hadn't been diagnosed, but I knew there was something going on. Went and had a chest x-ray and I had a dark shadow on my lung. The prognosis was terminal. They don't even give you a stage 1, stage 2, immediately stage 4.
Eric's call came through to me and they had many questions, and straight away I was able to put their minds at ease with what their diagnosis meant and what potential entitlements they might have.
We weren't in a position to pay for someone to represent us in court or anything like that, and without Maurice Blackburn, no win, no fee. I don't know what I would have done. We would have lost everything that we had.
Due to Eric's poor health, we expedited his claim. After we resolved Eric's claim, the defendant in his case, Amicar Proprietary Limited, which is formerly known as James Hardy, has actually refused to pay his settlement monies.
The attack on compensation rights and the amount of compensation that they justifiably deserve is always under attack. And as such, Eric has not seen a cent of his compensation since his claim settled in February of this year.
If they turn around and decide not to pay any compensation, all the future victims of this terrible disease will no longer receive any compensation at all.
The AICF is the Asbestos Injuries Compensation Fund, and the essence of why the AICF has refused to pay Eric his full compensation is that they've adopted a fresh interpretation of their legal obligations, which were set over 20 years ago when the whole James Hardy compensation scheme was established. And so Eric, unfortunately, has been caught up in this fresh approach to the way in which the AICF is effectively avoiding its obligations to people like Eric to pay them full compensation. The reason why this appeal is so important is that they're not being fully compensated by this new approach by the AICF trustee. The financial burden of James Hardy's deadly asbestos products is simply being shifted onto the current day employers, and it should not be allowed to stand.
Without Maurice Blackburn, there's no way that we would have been able to pursue this. I'm very thankful for that. They've stuck with us right to this day. Anybody that's exposed to asbestos, I said, you go and talk to Maurice Blackburn, they will tell you where you stand.